these entities, quote, possess these bloodlines and take over their mental and emotional, therefore, their actions, their processes. And to do that powerfully, there has to be a vibrational sympathy that allows the most powerful connection possible to happen. And so because of the genetic hybrid nature, there is a vibrational hybrid nature, which allows these bloodlines to be possessed, to have their mental and emotional capacities taken over, which is far more powerful than the rest of the population where there's not the same vibrational connection. The possession of the demons and the gods of humans goes back as far as history. And still today, it's a constant theme if you dig into it and look at it. So what we're looking at, and I didn't pick him by accident, by the way, what we're looking at, when we look at these people, we are decoding within the 5 sense band of frequency that we can access. And so what do we see? We see the human level of them, which is vibrating within that frequency range. But if we could see just outside of it, and some people can, of course, they have a much more expanded acuity visually, then they see things that actually look anything but human, overshadowing these entities. And there are times when the entity can pull back, when it doesn't have to control the processes, and the person can have a personality change. Oh, I met him, he was a nice bloke. And then the entity comes in when it needs to impact on behavior, and suddenly a very different person appears. It's another form of schizophrenia. It's not the only explanation for schizophrenia, but it's one of them. So what you're looking at are people who are human on the level that we decode reality through the body computer, but that which is controlling them are not human. I've talked to psychics all over the world. Like I said, in 51 countries researching this now, and a number have told me how they see like reptilian ethereal entities, not solid, ethereal entities, and they connect into people in these lower 2 chakra points. And most of the time they're powerful people or people of influence, but not always, nothing like always. Now when you see in laboratories and when there's material that the scientists can't work with directly, it will be in a tank, and then the scientists will put the gloves on and work outside the tank, but be able to go inside the tank and work with the material. That's very, very symbolic of what we're looking at here. The human hybrid Illuminati bloodline is like those gloves. It is the vehicle for the entity outside of our frequency range to manipulate into this one. And Neil Haig, you'll see this picture a number of times through the day. Neil Haig symbolizes these Illuminati bloodlines in its human structure as this bearded man, but that is a structure controlled ultimately by something that's nothing like human. Now, this goes back, way, way back, but you can pick it up in this kind of period in China, the Indus Valley, Mesopotamia, and Egypt, these advanced civilizations for their time. And again, they had reptilian imagery, reptilian gods, reptilian background. And this one seems to be particularly important. The area known as Sumer, which also became Babylon. Loads of Babylon symbolism now is used by these bloodlines in everyday society today. And it also became, of course, Iraq. Iraq is not just about oil. It's not just about one thing. One thing I've learned over the years, it's never about one thing, it's about multiple things. And one level is that this area of land is very sacred to these bloodlines for historical reasons. Now, the Sumerians in clay tablets that were found in the 19th century and 20th century talked about a non-human race they called the Anunnaki, the interbreeding with humans to create hybrid bloodlines and other things. And out of that came the European aristocracy and royal families. As these bloodlines moved up into Europe, this is not the start of it, it goes way back. There's a point where you can pick it up. And these became the European aristocracy and royal families, like the British royal family. I've lost my knighthood, you know. They're not going to give me a knighthood. They're not. They're not. It was when I said they were into Satanism and sacrificing people. I think that was that was I crossed their line then. Anyway, so these aristocratic and royal bloodlines, eventually there was a resistance among the population around the world of overt, in-your-face dictatorship by royal bloodline. And so what the bloodlines did, some of them stayed in the royal aristocratic lines, but they actually also moved into the dark suit professions of banking, of business, and politics. And these are some of the people who are among these hybrids today. That is something that is going to come up again and again and again. The House of Rothschild. Their ears will be burning in the next section, I can tell you. And these are the middlemen and women, the hybrids, the demigods that manipulate human society. But that's the control system and where it comes from ultimately, I would suggest. So what happened with the European empires, like the British Empire, in which they said the sun never set, and the French Empire, and all the others, of course, both of those very relevant to North America, is these bloodlines went all over the world, particularly through the British Empire. London's a major centre for this stuff. And then there came a point where apparently these bloodlines, or the colonial countries anyway, withdrew. But what was happening there was a massive sleight of hand. There's two types of control. There's a control you can see, touch, and taste. Communism, fascism, apartheid. You might not like it, but you know where you are. And you can pretty much see the controllers of this system, at least on one level. The greatest form of control is a control that you can't see and you're not aware of. Because people don't rebel against not being free when they think they are. And what we had in America, in Canada, in Australia, in all these former British colonies, etc., was a changeover at the point of independence from overt control by the British and the French, etc., to covert control. And they've gone on controlling these countries ever since. And the center of this control system, though it's very much in the United States, the center of it at operational level is actually in Europe. And what they do is they use America in many ways as the fall guy to take the flak and to be a in-your-face obvious manipulator and colonizer of places like Iraq and all the rest of it. But the real stuff, if you like, very simply, the bullets are put in the gun here and fired from here overwhelmingly. Of course, who you see are the people firing the bullets. It's a big sleight of hand. And so what they've developed through this process of leaving the bloodlines out in the countries and the control system in the countries which people can't see, and replacing colonial dictatorship with democratic dictatorship, which is what we have in my country and here. And they've created this structure which runs to this very day. It operates like a transnational corporation, exactly the same, except that it's secret societies. The center of the transnational corporation global network is the headquarters. In each country, they have subsidiaries, and the subsidiaries run according to the diktat of the center. You go into a McDonald's in one country, in Europe or anywhere, South Africa, it's the McDonald's you'll go into in New York, in every basic sense. This is how they work. What this Illuminati has done, this bloodline network, is they have the headquarters in Europe, and in each country they have a network of secret societies and bloodline families, and their job is to manipulate their sphere of influence, their country, in line with the centrally dictated agenda. This is why when I go around the world, I see the same things coming in different countries, justified often by the same lies, because this is how it operates, just like a transnational corporation. And you can symbolize it as a spider's web. The spider in the center, the Rothschilds very close to the spider, and then all these different strands of the web are governments, they're banks, they're secret societies, countries, media, transnational corporations. My God, what